right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where we're burning the damn house down. And I don't know if anybody's been taking the vote, but I need to know what time this show needs to come out. According to YouTube, you guys are in bed at 8 a.m. I know that's not true, and you're probably on a job site. So every Monday and Thursday, we release a new episode, 8 a.m. I want to know should I just make it like noon, 1 o'clock? That seems to be when people are happening, when stuff's going on. I don't know. This is only our 150th episode. You'd think I would have figured some of this out by now, but I haven't. So we're just here. Please just take that survey real quick so I know, and I'll change the damn thing. If not, I'm leaving it at 8 a.m. because that's just what I've always done. But that's besides the point. We have another amazing guest today. It's going to bring a lot of value to the construction industry and to your business. Kathy, it is great to have you here today.
So great to be here, Ron. Thanks so much for inviting me. And I cannot wait what people say, 8 a.m. or 12 p.m. We'll see. Keep us in suspense.
I don't, yeah, it's an amazing thing. I just like, according to YouTube, it is white between like 6 a.m. and noon. Nobody in the Construction Champions podcast audience is on YouTube. And that is when I release the new episodes. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You know, the good thing is you always have that replay function. So you can get it whenever you want it.
Absolutely. And that is 100% true. That's why it really, I guess, doesn't matter to me. And I'm leaving it up to everybody out there that's listening. But before we dive in, why don't you tell all the construction champions out there a little bit about yourself and what got you here to today?
So yeah, thanks. My name is Kathy Svetina, and I'm a fractional CFO for businesses that are growing. So what is a fractional CFO? It's essentially someone that is taking care of the future of your business, because by the time that you've grown so much, you have the bookkeeping done, you have the accounting done, but you need someone to help you figure out your profitability, your cash flow. Where is your business going to be 6 months, a year from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now? So having someone on your side that it's able to distill that financial information into actionable insights, not just data, but actionable insights, it makes a huge impact on the business. And that is essentially what I do. And I've been doing this for big businesses for 15 years, got tired of it. And I said, you know what? I want to do this for small businesses. And here I am.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk today. And I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to ask the $1 million question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
You know, I'm glad you're asking this, because I think what really makes a good champion, not just construction champion, but a champion, is someone that sees what the industry is facing in terms of issues and is trying to make it better, trying to make it healthier, trying to make it more sustainable. And Ron, you did this so well. You're a champion by fixing all those messy communication issues, by simplifying the collaboration between the contractors, between the office and the clients. And I think that I'm a construction champion by fixing their profitability and cash crunch issues and educating the owners about their finances and actually professionalizing their financial operations.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into forecast, like, because it is to be a champion. If we look at it from even just a sports perspective, is the guys that are champions understand what's coming ahead,
Yep.
who they're playing. I mean, if you talk to a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, they could tell you what that schedule looked like for the next month or 2 months. Like, they knew what nights they were really going to have to bring it and why. And for the guys like that, you bring it every night, but you start to have a better understanding. Like when Tom Brady used to sit back and look at the schedule for the season, he understood what mattered the most on that schedule, and you start preparing for those moments. And business is no different. Like that, you have to have the ability to start to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, in the construction industry, what's a little bit different than any of the other industries is that whole work in progress report, which a lot of people use it to inform them about the past, but it really gives you a lot of information about the future, where your jobs are going to be. So that is one of the very actionable tools that you can use in construction and remodeling to figure out where you're going to be in the future financially.
Can you dive into that a little bit for guys that don't necessarily understand what you're talking about? Maybe even myself included here. I understand work in progress, but you're talking about it in a different realm than I think most people think about work in progress.
Yep. So that and that's a good point. So the work in progress is essentially an operational and financial report that gives you a lot of information about where your jobs currently are. So for example, it will tell you how much you have actually budgeted for specific jobs, meaning all the estimates, all the change orders that have come through, how much you have estimated in terms of cost and in terms of actually money coming in. So that is one side of it. It's going to tell you the gross profit margin on these jobs. And again, the gross profit margin is revenue minus cost divided by revenue. So if you're looking for that, how much the gross profit margin is going to be, that is actually going to be on your work in progress report. That's one side of it. And the other side, it's going to tell you how much you have actually billed, meaning how much money has come through and how much cost has come through. That is going to tell you where the job is, how it is performing. Are you over? Are you under budget? And then also the other thing is it's going to tell you about the future. How much do you still have to bill? Meaning how much cash is going to come in and how much cost is still going to happen. How much cost is actually going to, how much cash is going out. So that is really going to be important about your cash flow. And I'm going to stop here because I have given you a lot of information. And I know it's very hard to visualize this, and I myself I'm a visual person. So if you are lost right now what I have said, I have actually created a video for you where it actually walks you through how this looks like and how you can use it for your business. So if you're lost there, I'm actually going to share a link where you can get that at the end. So don't worry, but I will tell you this, that it's very, very important and it's going to change your profitability significantly and make your business significantly better if you use this tool.
That's awesome because I'm a visual person. I was trying to kind of put that together in my head while you were doing it because I've also heard like this has major tax implementations as well because this is April 8th. Taxes are on everybody's mind right now, and it's my understanding like the work in progress and how that typically can be put together can cause some tax implications that could be negative, but shouldn't it be? It's just because of how construction works. Is that on point there, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. And it also depends on how your financials are set up for taxes. And that depends on the way how you're doing your accounting, the way how your tax person is actually filing. So you're going to have to talk to them about that. But I will tell you this, that with the construction, one of the interesting thing about the construction industry is that we take a lot of cash upfront because obviously people have to pay you so that you can pay your other contractors, you can buy the materials, you can afford the labor. So because you're taking a lot of the cash up front, if you don't have that work in progress reporting done and it adjusts in your financial statements, what it's going to look like is that you are significantly profitable. But when the cost is starting to come through, you'll see that profitability going down, 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 down even more. And if you're not making that adjustment, one of the things that you'll notice is that you might actually pay more in taxes than what you truly owe because it looks like you're more profitable than you really are. And it's going to be super confusing because a job is supposed to be profitable, but it's not. So because you have gotten a lot of cash up front, but the cost has come through in the next months. So your profit margins are like all over the place. It's going to be more like a roller coaster, and that's not good. You don't want to have a roller coaster in your financials.
Yeah, no, not at all. I believe that one of the one of the key hires that you need to make or outsource to begin with is controller CFO. Like you need to have somebody that understands it from a different perspective than just an accountant, because that's how you get your money working the right way within the business,
Yep.
is by doing that. So you work with construction companies. Like, how do you? Trying to forecast. And I used to do this. I got pretty good at it from just this perspective of like I ran operations. We had a lot of moving pieces. You could kind of start to put together what things should look like, but there's ebb and flows. I mean, shit hits the fan and happens in construction. Like, how do you start to break that down and help guys forecast stuff when, like you said, it's a real roller coaster out there sometimes?
And again, going back to the work in progress report, that is one piece of information that it's going to give you a lot of data about the future. So if you know, for example, I'm supposed to get $100,000 for this job. I have billed them already 50,000. So I have already received $50,000 in for this particular client. That means that that work in progress report is going to tell you, hey, I still need to bill that 50,000. So that way you know that for that particular job that you're currently working on, you're going to get $50,000 in the future, sometimes in the future. And there, for example, if you have specific schedule, like a draw schedule, when you combine that with a draw schedule, now you have a much better understanding when the cash is going to come through for that particular job. So that's going to help you with forecasting. The same thing on the expenses. If you know that for that $100,000 job, $30,000 has come through expenses, and you still need about 20,000 for the expenses that are going to come through, you see that on your work in progress report, and you can say, okay, that $20,000, it's probably going to hit me in the next 2 to 3 months. And then you can see based on historical data that you've had in the past, when do you think that that's going to happen? Or maybe your operations people can tell you that. So for example, you might have contractual obligations. Let's say that you have a plumber that you know when they're going to invoice you, you can put that in your schedule, in your cash flow schedule. So that work in progress report is so, so important for the construction industry. And I know I'm honing this down, like work in progress report is because I truly believe that when you use it in the right way, it's going to significantly impact your financials and your operations.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, because having an understanding on what that flow looks like I think we try to forecast, but we don't even have an understanding on the reality right now. And that gets us in even more trouble. And we see that too much in construction. And that's just kind of, running a business week to week and just basing it off of that is eventually something's going to catch up with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's essentially just looking at how many people are pounding you down for money and then trying to scramble to figure out, well, who do I build now to cover those expenses? Is really when you take a step back and you look at your entire operation from the financial front and from the operational front to see what can we do to make it better, and tools come into help, like your tool, for example, in the communication that really helps. And also if you have a tool that is actually going to house all of that information, all your estimates, all your change orders, so that you don't have to go and scramble. And another thing I will say about the change orders, which I see a lot of construction remodeling people truly struggling, is when a client comes and say, oh, we need to put, like, for example, a staircase in this house. We want to change it. And then you tell them, okay, this is how much it's going to be. And they say, okay, that's fine. Just bill me. And you don't have that in writing, like in actual writing, that they say, okay, I have agreed to pay you $30,000. Do not do that to yourself, because that means in the future, you might have some uncomfortable, very uncomfortable conversations about, oh, why are you billing me this? Well, because you agreed to it, but I thought it's going to be 20. Now it's 30. Don't do that. Just have it black and white somewhere when a person signs it and says, yes, I have agreed to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in no work happens and nothing changes without detailed explanation and a signature with what the number is on that change by all parties involved. So whoever the one is that's saying this is what's going to change, and the homeowner or whoever the person is to approve that, like if you want to start getting in some trouble, have no system around change orders and watch what happens to jobs and watch what happens to the amount of work you do that you don't get paid for.
Yeah, and that is that is exactly how you kill your cash flow and profitability. It takes companies down. So just don't
Well,
do that to yourself.
yeah, no, it absolutely does, especially when, you look at a lot of places and they're running like it's the bank account got money in it, like yeah, like that's how we're balancing the books, and we got to get away from that. Like that's not how champions do it. That's not how we take the construction industry to the next level. It's about understanding this stuff and then taking the appropriate precautions to get us where we want to go.
Yeah. And you're so right, because if you're operating based on how much money is in the bank, you might have a couple of $1 million in the bank right now because again, people have paid you in advance, but there's cost that's going to trickle down through the next couple of months. You need to make sure that you have enough money in the bank to reserve for that particular cost and not buy some extra stuff and, have a celebrationally dance, which is good, that you got the money in, but we have to plan for it.
Well, it's the next thing you're buying some equipment because your accountant's telling you that you need to get off some of this money when you don't even have an understanding of what's coming in that's going to get you off of that money without you getting off of that money. Like it can really, I mean, it's a shame sometimes how it is, but it's also why I do this here. So like we can bring people like you on so we can have a conversation and start to create an understanding around this of like how can we do better? And it's just by educating ourselves and educating the construction industry on just because that's how it's always been done doesn't mean it's how it has to be done now.
Yep, exactly. And if your accountant is telling you you have to go and spend this money without actually looking at the future and the future projection of your business, please go get yourself another accountant. That's a bad accountant because I know what they're doing. They're trying to minimize your tax liability, which in one hand it's fine, but on the other hand, like we need to make sure we have the money in place for all the next costs that are going to come through. So they need to be able to take a look at the past and the future. Unfortunately, accountants generally don't do that because that's just not their job. So you need to find someone who is able to marry the past and look at the future of the business because you don't live in the past. You're going to live in the future.
Well, yeah, I used to, I'm a, or you don't know. I say that, but I say, you get a CPA, an accountant, and a CFO all in the same room trying to work some of this stuff out, and everybody has a different perspective on it. And the goal is to get to some kind of alignment where it makes sense for your business financially. And you're not going one way way super far in either direction, but that's what we find ourselves is like we're either way too far in this direction or we're way too far in this direction, and there nobody ever tries to get like just this common ground of what makes sense for the business and the continued growth of it. And that's why these conversations have to happen with all your parties, because if you just go talk to your CPA, you're just going to pay more in taxes. Is if you just go talk to your accountant, it could really go sideways depending on your accountant and stuff. And if you don't have anybody that's in there helping control this or helps with the projections, because I'd have to think if you have your paperwork, the work in progress report and stuff right, like you're not going to eat that money on taxes because you have your paperwork correct. Is that correct?
It depends on if your accountant is using the work in progress reporting to make adjustment in your financial statements and then using those financial statements to file for the taxes. And I will tell you that a lot of times when people do the work in progress reporting, they just have it as a part of report, but they don't actually make an adjustment in their financial statements. That is why their financial statements look like a roller coaster. So there's going to be certain months when you're going to have a negative gross profit. It's going to be a loss. And I will tell you, and you can see if you go through your financial statements right now, and if you look in the last year, if you have a gross loss, meaning that revenue minus the cost of goods sold is negative, that means that you have no money left for your operational expenses, for your accountant, for your rent, for your marketing person, for your people, whatever it is. That means you are making you're essentially going bankrupt. However, the reason for that is most likely because a work in progress report is not done, meaning that you generally have probably not gotten enough money in to cover all those costs on your profit and loss statement. However, on your bank statement, you have more money because you have gotten all that cash up front. So that's how you will see that you do not have that work in progress adjustment. And that's what I'm saying is that your financial statements are going to be very confusing. You're going to be struggling with them, and they're just not going to make sense. It's like, why are we constantly losing money when we're actually making money? And that is why, because construction has this very specific problem. When you don't have a work in progress adjustment, this is how it's going to look like on your financial statements.
I love it. I mean, you're speaking right to how we fix that problem. And
Yep.
I love that. I love when people come with solutions and actually break down stuff. Like we've spent this entire episode talking about these work in progress report, like having an understanding around that. And like that matters because people
It
need
does.
to understand this kind of stuff. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much. And again, if someone is visual, just like I am and just like you are, you can go into newcastle.finance/construction champions, and it's going to have a video of this work in progress report. It's going to tell you how the sections of the work in progress report, it's going to tell you how to actually use it, how it's going to look in your P&L if you don't use it, if you do use it. And then there's also a couple of other videos about gross margins and markups, what happens when you mix them up and all that stuff. And please use it. It's the resources for finances. I'm here to educate business owners, and find yourself a good finance person that can walk you through this. Might not be me, but someone else. Just make sure that you have someone who understands these nuances in construction so that they can truly help you.
Awesome. I love it. And is there anywhere else that the construction champions can find you, follow you, pick up on what you guys are doing and stuff?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn, Kathy Svetina. I'm the only one there. And you can also look at my website, newcastlefinance.us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kathy, for taking the time to be on the show today.
Thanks so much, Ron. I truly appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, construction champions. Look at that. I don't even have to give you a call to action. Go take a look at the video for the work in progress. Like, let's start figuring some of this stuff out. I gotta say, if you're a guy that's out there and you don't know week to week what exactly is happening, this is how you start to get control of some of that stuff. Because none of the other stuff is ever going to fix without having an understanding of this. So selling more projects, doing more work will never fix bad financials. I think I've said that on here before. And I know we've had the conversation around just aimlessly scaling because we feel like that's the fix. That's what will fix our revenue problems. That's what will fix our money problems. And we never do any of the stuff to actually understand where we're at right now and what exactly is happening in our business. Is it profitable on the job? Is everything we're doing make sense from a system perspective? And then we just go sell more jobs, and then we have the same problem at more mass scale. And what happens when the problem's bigger? It falls down and it becomes a lot bigger of a thing when it goes kaplump. And we don't want to get there, because if we handle this now and you get it right, when you scale, you're never going to have to worry about it, because you have that foundation. You're looking, you have that forecast. You understand what's happening on every job. So, Construction Champions, if you haven't, go check out the blogs for the episode. It's something new. It's not even new. I've been doing it for like 4 months now, but I've never talked about it on here. Every episode, a blog that we put together, and go check out all of our great sponsors that keep this show rocking and rolling. And as always, go be the champion you were meant to be. Hey, Construction Champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum here, and I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business, so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.